Well, yeah, I gotta say almost the same thing. If you know me and you know the name of my channel, then you know what I'm about. And like, I think it was Joey, I've had a very dark past. I did meth for like 20 years and a bunch of other stuff. And I will tell you this, I don't care where you are. I don't care where you've been. I don't care where you're at. I have been there. And it ain't no lie. I have been there. And there's a lot of details of my life I don't tell people because they don't need to know certain things like that. But I'll tell you this, Jesus can pull you out of that. Anybody. So I really don't know how to describe it, but that's your only message of hope right there you're going to get from me. And if anybody has any questions about anything, you just come ask me. Find me on social media. I'll talk about anything. Although my kids call me a music snob, but there you go.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I am your host Brian, and rejoining the podcast today is our special guest John Brooks. How you doing, brother?
Doing good. How are you doing, sir?
All right. So for those who don't know, John was actually our first live stream interview that we had done, but unfortunately there was a bit of an echo going on, which was annoying the hell out of both of us. So we decided to do a nice little retake. So this is part 2 of our nice little interview going on here. So, I guess, John, how you been today, bud?
Doing all right. You doing all right today?
I'm doing good, too, though the weather has not been very good up here, so imagine. Hold up. Need my questions? Okay, there we go. I just hit the power button. Weather is a different story up here. It's gloomy, so you don't want to get out of bed, and that's the thing, so kind of woke up a little late today. How's the weather down there?
Those are the drumming days.
It would be. Or it's mainly
it's
the
hot here. Yeah, it's hot.
It was I was going to say, it's normally the idea of a long week, and then you just want to sleep it all off just to kind of get back to so-called normal. That's what we want to talk about. All right, so John at least knows how the whole thing goes, but actually I wanted to first start off with the recent video you released, which talked about your current job, but also I guess you went into some of your other jobs. So I guess, what led you to make that video?
People were asking questions, and it's easier for me to make videos instead of texting back when they're texting me. I'm like, I'll just make a video real quick. So there's actually a lot of stuff on the channel that's like unlisted that for me just answering people's questions. So I just figured I'd make that real quick. And then there's other stuff because I just went to California and I was telling stories. I have a lot of stories to tell, so I figured I'm just shoving them up there.
That was pretty cool. And I guess for those who haven't watched, I guess can you kind of go into a little detail about the video?
Say that again?
I was going to say, for people who haven't really seen the video yet, do you just want to elaborate a little bit?
On that particular video, the job one?
Yeah.
Well, somebody asked me how did I get into my job and why am I on night shift and stuff. So I figured I'd just make a video about what do I do, and they can go watch the video of what I do because it explains it a lot better. And I have a lot of videos like that when people are like, well, how come this? I'll shove a video on there. So when you're on the John BMX for Christ channel, you are on my personal channel. It's not all just drum videos. So you're going to get a lot of randomness on there. It's going to be a lot of stuff like that. It's still random.
That's pretty sweet, yeah. Keep them on their toes, as they would say. I guess, where'd you get the intro actually at? Because that one was actually a little bit of a surprise, too. And it's like the thumbnail of the video, too. So I was actually a little curious where'd you get that one?
Most of my intros come from Intro Maker. It's an app on the phone that I use. And then I've modified it in the computer after that because I'm not that good at designing things like that. All the fancy intros come from that app, and then I just drop them into the computer and use them.
I see. Yeah, this one had a bit more of a childish theme to it too, especially with the way the music was playing.
Well, because I'm telling stories, so I figured it's story. I was looking for something that goes with that, so that's going to be what that is. And then we just did the Judas Priest thing together, and I uploaded my own part, and it says for Brian at the beginning for you. That was also done in it's called Intro Maker. That was done in that same app.
Yeah, I released my part on Friday as well, so got some responses, but our video was actually killing it too, and in fact it skyrocketed over 200 views already, so it's been good.
Really?
So yep.
I did not know that. Wow, nice. Congratulations.
Thanks. I don't know how well it's done on your channel yet, but
I don't even look. I don't know.
He just takes brief glances and then just see how it does, and then just calls it a day.
I just throw it up there. Here, go watch it. Whatever.
Yep. It's that easy. So, all right. So, obviously, we asked questions before though, so maybe just to kind of do a nice little recap. Can you tell people again about your drum history? How did you get into drumming?
I started a little late at like 13. Some people that's late. Some people don't start till they're 15 or 16, but a lot of people I know start a lot younger. And I ended up getting a blue sparkly drum set. I don't even know what kind it was. It had no cymbals, and it was just like, I don't even know how I acquired it. And then that's how I actually got into drumming. And I played that for a while. And then I ended up playing air drums for at least a year and on my legs. And then I got a wood grain Slingerland that also had no cymbals with it, and I played that for a while. And I didn't have cymbal stands. Once I got cymbals, I made my own stands out of PVC pipe and drumsticks and hose clamps, and it was pretty funny looking. And then stayed with it from that point on. I actually used that drum set. I played with a ton of people in different garages and all kinds of stuff. And then after that, I had a silver, it was a CB, I can't remember what it's called. CB something. I don't know what that means, but and then I actually had an electronic set for a little while, believe it or not. Yeah. and then my kid in this room, we had a Pulse. That's because he wanted to take up drums, and we didn't have a drum set at the time. I'm like, well, you know how kids are, they don't want to stick with it, so you don't know. So we got him a Pulse. I think that whole drum set, the complete set with cymbals, was $250. But then we actually built onto it and changed heads and got cymbals throughout the years and the double pedal and all that stuff. And then we ended up getting rid of that and got a Tama. But that's how I got into drumming, and I just stuck with it. Once I got the brown wood grain Slingerland, it was like, okay, where's the chicks?
Chicks dig the drummers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll give the singer and guitar players a lot of head, though, but I guess drummers maybe in the background, but I guess if they stick around with the guitar player and the vocalist a while, they might get a good number of chicks too. You said you were a big fan of the thrash metal scene, right? So you like the Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax, and then there's always the big four, which obviously it's Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth. And then I call them the other four that came like a little bit after them, or they might have been playing like around the same time as them, but it was like Exodus, Testament, Overkill, and Death Angel. Were those the groups you got into?
Yeah. I'm not particularly a Death Angel fan, but yeah, all them bands pretty much.
Okay,
I mean, once we just saw them. Yeah, we saw them with Testament a couple months ago. They were playing with them, and they were pretty good. I don't know. I just can't get into their stuff.
Their first album was actually pretty killer, and I played one of the songs from that album. It was the Ultra Violence, but I played the song Evil Priests from it, which it was at least doable, but you can probably guess in the thrash style. Their drummer was pretty crazy too, especially when you listen to songs like Voracious Souls, and then Final Death was like it had probably one of the more killer endings, especially with how sometimes you get the nice little drum patterns going and everything near the end to kind of build up the end. So, but they were playing together with Testament, Exodus, and I think it was those three.
Yeah, it was those three.
That was pretty cool. Where'd you see him at?
A place here local in Raleigh. They came through here, and I was like, well, Testament's probably one of my top 5 favorite bands. So I figured, let me go see them. And of course, I'm always cranking Exodus songs. And my wife was not my wife only knew about like one song, which I think was like Brain Dead. And then I think she might have heard Toxic Waltz before, but that was one of the only ones. And then yesterday she came in, she goes, "Have you ever heard Star Spangled Banner?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." So I said, "It's kind of anti-American." She's like, "Can you play it on drums?" I'm like, I can if you want me to, but I don't know. They didn't play that one live, but yeah, Testament was actually really good.
Yeah, they had a Dave Lombardo back, Testament, right?
Mm. Yeah, that was pretty cool because Gary Holt is in Exodus.
Yeah.
And then Dave Lombardo was in Testament. And I was like, dude, why at the end of the concert don't you guys all get together, everybody from the whole night, and just play one Slayer song? It makes sense, but
I don't know who would do the vocal bass duty and the other guitar.
I don't know. They can all share stuff. It's like, it'd be like one of them fun jam type things.
I think Gary Holt did do a video where I guess he was messing with the audience because you know how Raining Blood starts off in the beginning with that crazy, eerie intro, I think we should say. I think he was doing that before I guess they jumped into one of their own songs. So
yeah, I seen that clip. It was pretty funny.
You know, I think there was like, oh yeah, and now it's coming to me. There was a text message I got from a friend because he Ubers. He's also a big metalhead too. He actually picked up Gary Holt, and I'm assuming he had picked up Dave Lombardo as well. And the guys drove him from their hotel over to our stage, which is Stage AE, where they played in Pittsburgh. He sent me a pic of it, and I could not believe it. I knew the one was Gary Holt, but I didn't recognize if it was Dave Lombardo sitting next to him. So I was actually curious. But
that's another thing that's weird. That's pretty awesome. Testament released a video the other day, and Gene Hoglan's playing drums, and that's a recent video. So I don't know how old is it that they made it and they just released it, or is he playing on the album and Dave's just doing the live stuff? I don't know what they're doing because Dave wasn't in the video, so that was kind of interesting.
I would have thought it'd been older because I thought Gene was off doing his own stuff or with a different group now, so I'm not really sure. But speaking of Gene Hoglan, would you say he's one of your big influencers?
Probably, yeah. I mean, back in the day, it was Lars. Once I found Megadeth, I got away from Metallica, and I started hating Metallica, especially after the whole Napster thing. So I haven't listened to them since. But yeah, he'd be one of them. Dave Lombardo, Mike Portnoy, the dude in Judas Priest right now that used to play in Racer X. Because I used to listen to Racer X a lot back in the day. Bobby Rock. I don't know if you know who Bobby Rock is. He used to be in Nitro. I don't know if you ever heard of Nitro.
Probably not. It's probably one of the lesser classic metal groups.
If you look them up, it's crazy. It was crazy back then. That was Michelangelo's band with the guy with the 4-neck guitar. You ever heard of that guy before?
I have not heard of Nitro, actually. But
okay.
They might have done some on like the radio station I listen to, Ozzy's Boneyard. They may have done something, but that I'm not really sure. I know Cheap Trick, the guy with the... Was it 6 heads on his guitar? I think it was... I forget his name, damn it. No, I did the whole interview on it. I know Cheap Trick, their guitar player, plays like one of those little crazy guitars. You see them there? I think it has like 6 necks on it altogether. So
Have you seen the new Steve Vai guitar?
I have not, no.
Oh, dude, go look that up.
Oh, man.
It's pretty
We'll make
crazy.
it our nice little background on our computer then. That's pretty sweet. I guess, did you have any other influencers, or is it mainly just those guys out of the 80s?
It's mostly those guys. I mean, I'll hear something once in a while, but I mean, I'm not trying to be like them either. I was back in the day. I was like, I want to be this guy. And now it's just like, I just listen to certain guys to hear what they got going on.
I would say trying to imitate Lars wasn't too bad because I think there are sometimes where we're thinking in the same way because of the way you would hit maybe both the cymbal and the crash together at a certain part to kind of symbolize a verse change or something, or I want to say tempo change because it's not really like that. It's kind of like just signaling that the whole time signature starts over again, so to speak. And it just adds a nice little flavor to it.
Well, it's funny because I learned how to play drums by listening to Metallica because it was so easy. So like I could play the whole thing of like the whole album of Ride the Lightning, the whole album of like Master of Puppets, and I used to play some of that stuff live with some other bands, and it's like that's too easy. That's how I learned how to play, which is kind of funny. But once I wanted to branch out, it's like I can't be like them. And then once I found Megadeth, I'm like, I hate Metallica so much. It's like, I just had this hatred toward them.
Yeah, I think you were kind of feeling Dave's hatred for Metallica, I guess, on the albums he was making too. I know, was Peace Sells around the same time that Master of Puppets came out?
I don't remember years and things like that. I don't know.
I just know in one of the comments, I think it was Good Morning Black Friday, and one of the people put in the comments, I think when they were looking at Master Puppets, because there's one little verse where Dave goes, "What the fuck is this?" That sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
And then they were talking about Metallica's Master Puppets.
Have you heard that brand new Megadeth song they just released?
We'll Be Back.
Yeah.
I did, yes, and it sounded like their old school kind of style there too, especially.
It actually almost sounds like there's a Black Friday influence in the actual song.
That's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, I would say without the. I don't know if you would say acoustic. Maybe it was like more. Fuck, what's the word? It was softer melody in the beginning. We'll just say that softer melody in the beginning. I might have to listen to it again, but I know they had some crazy solos here and there, so I think it was kind of like how they used to roll back in the day. So I was actually really happy about that. So Dave really did his homework there.
Oh yeah, it's really good. I like it.
Absolutely. Let's see. All right, since you already had your kit there, why don't you walk us through it again? Because last time I think you just did it by words, and we just got a brief glimpse of it. So fire away.
Yeah, so if you really want to see some details, there is a playlist on my channel called Drum Covers. In there, I actually did a rig rundown, which if you're watching this, please do one. I'm always interested in what are people doing, what mics are people using, how are they placed, what heads are you guys using, tops and bottoms. Even if you're electronic kit, how's your workflow? This particular kit, though, because in that video I show like all the microphones and all that other stuff. This particular kit's an old 80s Pearl export that I ended up picking up for a couple $100 not too long ago. We had a Tama Rockstar in here in this room right before this. I've been a Tama and pasty person my whole life. I say pasty, I know it's pasty. And then we ended up picking this up, and I'm really digging it. I like Pearl. I'm still more of a Tama person, but this old 80s export is giving me the sound that I like for the type of music that I play. It's got the boominess. I like big, deep toms, but that's what this is. And I'm using all Zildjian cymbals now instead of pasties. So it's like I've gone the whole opposite way. If I do find another rock star, I will pick it up though and get rid of this particular drum set. But this drum set's actually pretty cool. I don't know what type of wood it is. I don't know that type of stuff. I know it's a 12, 13, 16, 22. The snare's different. This was my kid's. I don't remember what it is. And I'm playing with Evan's EC2's top and bottom, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. And all these cymbals, except for the A's, everything in here is used. All these cymbals I got used for like nothing. Even this big black, which I love, this big black ride. I love this thing because we used to have the black Zildjians on the Tama because we had black hardware. The rims were black. We had black heads on it. We had black sticks.
Everything must be black.
It had this cool look to it, except the toms they had suspended toms, and I'm like, I'm not a fan of those because they bounce, but I understand it because there's no hole in the side of the drum. I get it, but yeah, then I ended up, I've been wanting another black ride for quite a while, so we just picked this up for like really cheap. It was nice.
Well, I know you're not trying to imitate Metallica's Black album, so that's probably a good thing too.
No.
I guess, has this been your current set right now? Or I guess, how many have you gone through so far?
Drum sets?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of my head. But there's not much in there either, but that's what I can recall right now.
You said too you had an electric set at some point, right?
I did. It was a Roland TD7. It wasn't necessarily mine. It was one of those things where you can keep it as long as you want type things. Like a buddy had it at my house. So I played on that for a long time. And it worked out because we had sliding doors on the closets, and I took the doors off. Sorry, I took the doors off and then stuck it in the actual closet, so it wasn't really taking up much room. It worked out really well.
I see. Do you still have it, or did you get rid of that long ago?
That's gone now. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask, did you ever think of like mixing it together with your current set there and kind of goof around like Neil Peart kind of style, make that percussion or something?
No, if I'm gonna play one, I'm gonna play one or the other. I understand, some people have like an octopad or something behind them, or they do incorporate stuff. But I've also seen people play electronic kits with real cymbals and things like that. But it's like, if I'm gonna, I don't have a use for that right now. I'm not that good, so it's like, if I'm gonna be on an acoustic kit, I'm gonna be on an acoustic kit. If I'm gonna be on electronic, I'll be on electronic. I'll pick one or the other.
Well, the wife is at least happy, and she's not cursing you out for your loud drum playing too. So at least you're doing something right.
Yeah, well, I own the house, so I'll do whatever I want.
It's my house, bitch. That's what
Well, it's like it is loud in the house because this room isn't soundproof. We were going to soundproof this room at one point, but then we ended up moving it. We don't call this a studio anymore. It's just a drum room now. We got rid of all the big stuff. So, but when it was big, we had to move it into the big room. So I'm like, wow, I'm glad I didn't soundproof this room because now everything's in the other room, but now everything's back in here. So, But it is loud in the house, but she don't mind it.
How many kids did you have? Because they're also musicians too, right?
Yeah, we have 3 boys. One plays bass. One, his main instrument's electric guitar. And since people are watching this right now, go check out Matt Citrano on YouTube. You will not be disappointed. He's like he went to school for that, so that's what he does, and he teaches and stuff. And my other kid, he's I'll call him a drummer because he's not just a drum set drummer. He knows marching stuff and quads. And a lot of this equipment in here is his. I bought it from him. Now it's mine. But yeah, everybody plays something. My wife doesn't, so she says she plays CDs.
She could be the turntable artist, I guess, if they give her some vinyl records and stuff. Just do that stuff. They'll scratching the records too. Gotta do like what some of the new metal groups were doing in the late 90s. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. In fact, is it your youngest son who's doing a drum line for the?
Well, they're twins, so they're the same. The guitar player and him are the same age. They're older now. He doesn't do that anymore. Like we sold his snare. And I'll tell you this: if your kids are ever in marching, and you have a drum set like this, an acoustic kit in your house, this is nothing compared to having a marching snare in your house. Oh my gosh! Because we've had an acoustic kit in the house forever. He got the marching snare. We ended up getting a 14-inch. Pearl, I forgot, championship. Oh my gosh, that thing was so loud. You go outside, it's like you don't even hardly hear this outside. That thing just cut through everything. That was crazy.
Oh man. So I guess you're happy once he graduated, and then you were like, yes, we can finally get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind the noise. You just got to let people know, because like if you're downstairs in the living room trying to have a conversation with company, it's like you can't hear nothing.
I was just thinking, like, if you got all 3 of your sons together, because sometimes you get the groups with the 2 brothers together. I know there was like the Abbott brothers who formed Pantera. Hoffman brothers were part of Dicide, and Eddie Van Halen and his brother Alex with Van Halen. So I mean, can we do 3? Can we do the Brooks brothers?
Well, we it's funny because every time we pass that store, we take their picture in front of that store. But I do have videos of them jamming, and on one of our trips to California, we rented a studio that had equipment in it, which was really awesome. And because we know so many people, it's like, well, we can't visit everybody. Usually we'll say, we're going to be at this park having a picnic. Everybody come visit. It was one central location. So one year we rented a studio and said, everybody come on. You can come visit us. We're going to go have food after. You can see the kids come play. And they were just like performing for everybody. And it was really cool.
That sounds pretty sweet. But they never really thought of like, hey, Dad, I want to go in a touring band and tour the world and be a rock star.
No, my kids are smarter than me. So when they were about 11 or 12, they said, my background is rock and roll. They said rock and roll is like this. And they're right. Rock and roll is this path. This is it. they want to branch out into more musical paths. And so that's what Matt has done, and he wants to physically. He originally wanted to be a composer, so he programs all the instruments. He wanted to physically learn how to play every single instrument, and he can play quite a bit. So he wants to go in a different direction, and he's really good at the rock and roll though, and the metal. He's phenomenal at it. But he also does a lot of other things. He has composed for small like college films and stuff, and it's really good. But he was right when he said that. I mean, rock and roll is kind of very limited.
Yeah, because really you're just kind of focusing on making the music, going and touring and everything, partying, girls, and drinking and that sort of thing too. So,
well, music-wise, I mean, you can go the Dream Theater way, which is still rock and roll, but it's more prog rock. So you've kind of branched out a little bit. They have the jazz background. Dream Theater does, because they all went to the Berkeley or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of what his thinking was. Are you going to do like math rock? So that it's not so simple. He just meant that in a way like rock and roll is just kind of too easy. It's too simple.
Yeah, I like those kind of bands too that kind of like jump around. So like maybe they'll start off heavy at first, but then they'll suddenly go like real soft or throw in like a jazz piece here and there. So it's one thing to keep your audience on their toes too. So I could see why your son would think that too. But
if people cannot clap to your music, they will not listen to it. Musicians will listen to it, but you're not going to be dancing to Dream Theater, because it's going to be like, whoa, time change. What happened? They can't sit there and do this. So music for the masses is very simple.
Well, the thing is, most people just know how to like clap to a simple 4/4 kind of thing too. So if it's like Smoke on the Water, it's like that sort of thing. So obviously people will at least know how to clap to it too. Otherwise, you need because that's what happened with Mastodon, because the lead bassist and vocalist during one of the opening to the songs, I see him like coming over, it's like
right,
that sort of thing too. Obviously, it's keeping track, so it felt a little bit off, but I could see what he was trying to do there. That was actually Crystal Skull when he was doing it too, and I actually released that video a couple weeks back. So one of my crowning achievements. But it's good to see your sons are doing well.
You had mentioned Pantera, and I know that's like one of your major bands. Did you see the recent thing of they're going to get back together and do some stuff, and what do you think about that?
I did, yeah. And when I was checking out the comments, it was a mixed reception too. First off, it's, for those who don't know, Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown, the bassist, they're getting back together to form Pantera. They're going to start touring. Obviously, the Abbott brothers, rest in peace, have passed away. So on drums, it's going to be Anthrax drummer Charlie Benante, and on guitar, it's Zakk Wylde. So if you know Zakk Wylde, go listen to Black Label Society. Dude's an absolute shredder too. But he also pays respect too. I think that was also meant for him to pay respect back to Dimebag Darrell. So I'd say good choices to kind of answer your question. I'd say good choices because obviously Zakk Wylde, he's a legend too. Same with Charlie Benante, because Benante was one of the guys who did the whole blast beating and I guess more of the gravity blast, because when you listen to Milk, it was from SOD Soldiers or Stormtroopers of Death. I always want to say soldiers. Stormtroopers of Death. Listen to the song Milk. That was the first time he did like a gravity blast, because it was more crazy back then. Obviously, I think he was doing it with two hands, because nowadays most people just do it with one. But not to get off track, but I'd say good choices, but it's one of those things, like if it's like Pantera was mainly formed because of the Abbott brothers. So I can see why people would think it's not the same. So it would seem like the best that they should do is put Pantera to rest. If Phil wants to play the music, he should just probably do it in his current group Down, or I guess he did Phil and Semo and the Illegals. If they did something like that. I think if he does it like that, I think people would be okay. But I think under the name Pantera, I don't think it's a wise move, but can't stop him. So I wish him best of luck going forward. I think the other thing too is he still has a lot of regret. I think he wanted to get Pantera back together, but obviously concerning his drug abuse and everything, so he was spiraling out of control at that time. But it looks like he's doing better now. So I think now, obviously, he has a lot of regret. He wasn't able to be forgiven by Vinny, so I feel like it's just a way for him to like relive it too, because Pantera was what helped him get on the scene. So it'd be interesting to see. I'm hoping nothing bad happens. So I wish him best of luck going forward. I guess what's your thoughts on it?
I agree with what you said. Like, if he plays the songs with his bands, it's fine. Using the Pantera name, I don't like, because that is the two brothers. And I also saw an interview with him before Daryl Abbott died. And he was in a magazine doing an interview, and he actually said something like he hated him. He wished somebody would kill him or something like that, to that effect. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes to, kill Daryl. And I was like, okay, is he responsible? Did he say that, and that caused this dude to do that? So it's like, okay, I haven't liked Phil Anselmo since that point, because of, he actually said that. I'm not saying he caused it, but it came out of his mouth. So I agree with you. If he wants to play the songs in like a, how would you say, like a tribute way to them, that's great. But calling themselves Pantera and doing that, I don't really agree with that. That's me, I mean, I don't know. I'm a nobody.
Yeah, I think it's his best. I think if he's just going to do it, and there's no big issues or anything, just wish him best of luck going forward. So I think he still feels a lot of pain deep down. And I think if it was really because of that, I think he does have a lot of regret for it. So I think he does a good job like covering it up. But I think he's still feeling it deep inside here. So wish him best of luck. Good luck, Phil. What kind of sticks were you using? You got them right there next to you?
Yeah. So these are I call these imitation Pro Marks. Where's the camera? And the only reason why I like these are some cheap, I don't even know what these are, but I always use 5A nylons. And the only reason why I like them is for this, because on cameras are all visual. It's a visual thing. It's not, it's about you playing the drums. But when the cameras are turned on, I'm more of a visual person once they're on. Like when I'm practicing, I'm like this, whatever. Once the cameras are on, I'm standing up, I'm twirling sticks. So this, just because of this little stripe, I call them imitation Pro Marks. It gives it that extra little thing to look at on the camera. That's all. I don't even know what these are. These are some cheapies. I think they're called LA Specials. So,
can we get a little stick twirl real quick?
Yeah, I only know how to do one, and that's this. I think I did Helix. Was it Helix? I forget. Rock You. And I was actually flipping it forward. And it's funny. I should have kept the practice footage from that, because I kept throwing the stick over the cymbals.
Oh, jeez.
I would like to learn more tricks. My kid knows some from being in marching band. They do something called a thumb twirl, and you actually twirl the stick on top of your thumb. You let go of the stick, and it twirls around, and then you grab it. It's dangerous because you let go of the stick.
Yeah.
But it looks cool when you do it. But Joey's doing cool tricks with his sticks, and everybody else is. And I'm like, I need to be like you guys.
Yeah. Daddy wishes he could be like his son now. So that's pretty sweet. Let's see. Look down. I guess let's jump into your YouTube channel a little bit. Obviously, it looks like you said you kind of jump around with random stuff. And I think last time you said you had, 3 channels altogether?
4.
Yeah, 4.
So if you're on the John BMX for Christ channel, so that's my name, and I'm a Christian, and I did BMX freestyle my whole life. I know I look like this old man, but believe it or not, I've been doing BMX freestyle my whole entire life. My kids all skateboarded and rode bikes too, and that was in the skate parks. But anyway, that channel is my personal channel. It's completely random. My other channels are in the About section if you want to check out other things. I have one. I call it the official channel. It's the John Brooks channel. But yeah, the John BMX channel is completely random. That's where I'm putting the drum videos, but it's also my personal stuff. If I'm out in town and I see something, I throw it up there. Hey, check this out. So you don't know what you're going to get.
I guess, is there any plans you hope to achieve with YouTube channels, or you just seeing where they go from here on out?
Nope. I don't care about subscribers. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if you want to subscribe, that's great. If you want to unsubscribe, that's great. I care more about, if I'm going to upload a video, is somebody going to watch it? I don't want to upload a video for no reason. Although, even if it has 0 views, I'm still going to keep doing it because that's just something I do. So when I'm dead, people can go back and go, what the heck was he thinking? Let me go through and see what's going on in his head. That's kind of what that is. It's just like, that's why it's so random. It's like, these are just things, it's part of my life. Just throwing stuff up there. The drum videos go up there and there you go. I don't want to make a whole separate drum channel just for these. So I've simply just made it a playlist in there.
I see. Yeah. Best of luck going forward to you, buddy. But it looks
Thank
like
you,
it's...
sir. Same to you.
Yep. I was going to say, yeah, it looks like it's still... It worked out for you, though, because obviously your first channel, I don't know how many you have with the other 3 channels, but your first channel, John B. MX for Christ, looks like it's doing really well, though, too. So keep it going, soldier. That's what we'll say. Keep it going.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So let's see. I think last time when we talked about COVID, you had mentioned how you had gotten it. So I guess walk us through that experience. Was it life-changing for you?
I guess. I mean, as far as like what happened around here, nothing changed. You know, everybody still had to go to work and stuff. Nothing really changed here where I live. But yeah, I went to California for a church thing and ended up getting COVID and went to the hospital in an ambulance, which I found that's pretty darn expensive. And I was in the hospital for 3 days with COVID. And then, you know, there were church people all over the country trying to figure out, how do I get my car, because I was far away from my car? How do I get back home? Do I need financial assistance? People were helping me all over the place. It was really awesome. And I thank everybody for doing that. But I finally made it home, and I'm going to be making a video of the entire experience just so that I can tell all my details with my symptoms in case anybody else sees any of that in themselves. They can know what to look for and stuff. But it was really bad, and I hope nobody gets it because I'm also old. But it wasn't the chest one. I don't know what you call it. They don't have it on the paperwork. It just says COVID and dehydration. It doesn't say which thing, what did I have. But it was pretty bad, and the after effects are still lingering now. It's messed up a lot of stuff physically in me afterward.
I see. Yeah, you did mention about that. And did you say when you were going to release that video, or was it going to be like sometime in the near future?
I haven't recorded it yet because I'm also doing all the stories, my story time things. And I have a list in my phone of all the drum covers I want to do and all the stories I need to tell, which I would love to do all that, but I still have to go to work every day. And work is taking up all the time that I need to be home doing the things I want to be doing. Darn it, work. But yeah, it's like I'm trying to do stuff, and I work at night, so it's like I'm trying to work all that in. It's a little difficult doing certain things at certain hours.
You know, it is weird when I heard you talking about the graveyard shift. First off, it was good for you because it allowed you to spend time with the family afterwards, and then you just hop in bed until the kids came home after their 8-hour school day. Then you were just able to get back up, hang out with them, and then go to work, that sort of thing. But graveyard shift, it always sounded so weird, though, too, because I guess obviously not a whole lot of people are up, so maybe you're just kind of doing back orders or stuff like that just to kind of prep for people overseas. I don't know if you guys were international or anything like that. So
no, but when you work in a factory setting, you know, when in the daytime you have all the management there and customers are coming through and looking at what you do and they're trying to get customers. And then at night, it's like you're simply running machines, you know, wrapping pallets, loading trucks. You're getting your stuff done. And nobody's bothering you. You don't have all the different management there. And it's like you just go to work, you do what you need to do and get out. And I used to work in a grocery store at night doing the night stocking. It's the same thing. There's nobody shopping in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. You're just doing your work. You know, all the guys have their own aisle. You know, you're pretty much done by the time customers come in, so you don't have to deal with customers. I'm like, this is great. It's graveyard is really a lot better. And if obviously you watch that video and how I explain that with the family, and it makes sense when I explain it that way, how I can see my family more. Yeah. And then in the daytime, if you really want to, you just cut into your own sleep and come play drums in the middle of the day. Nobody's home. It works out so well.
Yeah, I guess the good thing was you didn't have to deal with any drama, like people trying to come in and start robbing the place.
Yeah.
When you said like the grocery store too, you think that would be a little susceptible to it. They just came busting in with their guns and everything. So it's good to see. No drama, fortunately. So no drama. That's all good. Let's see. Let's see where we're at. I guess kind of walk through your goals this year. I guess both on your YouTube channel and I guess in personal life too.
Oh, man. Personal life and YouTube are completely opposite things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because YouTube is like, I really don't care. I just come in here, do my thing, throw it up there, see stuff around town. Here you go. I'm not really into growing my channel. I'm not into the YouTube thing. It's just going to keep doing what it's doing. I don't have any plans. Personal life is completely different because, well, that's my personal life,
Yeah.
So I've got a lot going on in my personal life.
I guess a lot of activity in your church.
Well, that's the thing is like my church is actually in California and I'm on the East Coast and we can't find one here. We've been church hopping for 10 years. I did play drums in a church here for 10 years and that was good. And then something happened and they don't exist anymore. But I still do church stuff with people all over the country, on Zoom and in live chats. And when I travel, I visit everybody, people I haven't met. Like if I'm coming through Pittsburgh, guess who I'm coming to visit?
Yep.
And I know Drum Man lives there. I know people in Philadelphia. So it's like when I'm traveling, I'll be like, hey, I know you live here. Can I come see you? And be like, hey, let's go to lunch together just to actually physically meet. So it's really cool. But yeah, I'm not really planning on, I don't know. My personal life is a little crazy and I don't want to go into too much detail in this video.
Yeah. No, it's good. I thought it was more like church stuff or doing any sort of charity work, but I guess it's a little bit hard too when your church is on the other side of the states. So, actually, there's actually a couple drummers. First off, I only recently found out about Drum Man living up here too, but there's a KMK drums, Kelly Kusamoto. Did you see his channel?
I don't know. Is that the name of his channel?
It's KMK. I think it's drums, but yeah, I interviewed him. Real nice guy too. And
I'm trying to catch up on your interviews.
Yeah. Well, actually, I haven't released that one yet, so I got to work on his.
I'm sitting there going through them. I'm trying to catch up.
And then there's Throwback Drummer. He lives out there in Philly. So recently he got a little pissed because I don't know how big of a hockey fan you are.
I don't watch American sports.
Oh man, come on.
I'm a weird person. If you were to know me in real life, you'd be like, "What? Are you like anti-American? I don't watch American sports. I hate American cars. Like, I'm weird."
What? You hate college football?
No.
Jeez.
I used to be a really big English Premier League fan, which is English soccer.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Formula One fan, which is a European sport. I'm weird like that. I'm different. That's all.
Well, just to sum it up, the team that Throwback Drummer really likes, which is Philadelphia Flyers, the hockey team, they passed up a chance to get a nice, good player. They blow it. The guy goes out to Columbus, of all cities, to go play at. So you can imagine how pissed he was. So shout out to Chris, Throwback Drummer. Thank you.
I love his stuff too. It's awesome.
Yeah.
My favorite one of his so far is the Sonic the Hedgehog medley.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen it. That one's pretty good. I like that one.
Yeah, his is kind of interesting because I guess he does more stuff from the older video game era, or I guess anything that was old school television. Because I know he also plays some old school guys. I don't know if he did a couple of Buddy Rich ones yet or something, but I know he jumped around a little bit. So these are interesting, but he kind of adds his own little flavor to it, and it really works. To lack of a better term, it really works. So hats off to him. All right, so you pretty much got all my questions here. So now we jump to this part of the podcast where I give my interviewees a little bit of freedom to ask me anything. So I guess, did you think of anything new after our last little interview?
Sure. So you play an electronic kit. I play an acoustic kit. Now, I know you're in a house, and a lot of people say they're limited because of their neighbors or their parents or whatever, if they're in an apartment or something. But which one do you actually prefer to play, and why?
I have played on an acoustic set before, and it was actually with a cover band that I was just briefly a part of. We only did like 2 sessions together before they picked somebody else. So, uh, I've been so used to electronic set, really. In fact, that's pretty much what I did like all my drum covers on. So that's the thing. When you stick to like one thing for a good while, you are like so used to it. It's like hard to like switch to like try an acoustic set. I would say electric, but I think if I was able to, maybe at some point when I got my own house, I would maybe get an acoustic set because it seems like most people get more views when they play on acoustic sets than electronic sets, which is kind of a shame too because there's really a lot of work that us electric drummers have to put in order to make our drum covers too. Because me specifically, I'm using the MIDI. I got to make the drum sounds work. I got to line it all up with the music. I export it. I put it in there. And I got to shoot the video. Make sure I play it as close as I can. Maybe a couple of mistakes here and there. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I've seen posts where people are like saying like, if you're playing an electronic set, it's not like real drums or something like that. So, or you're not like a real drummer and stuff like that. So, I mean, come on, give me a break.
I used to say the same thing though.
Did you?
Yeah, it's not real drums, but they're both a different beast depending on what you want to do, And sometimes I do wish I had an electronic kit in the house, and I don't know if other electronic people wish they had an acoustic kit in the house.
Well, the biggest thing, a couple of big things is like one, you don't have to worry about tuning it so much because if you want to maybe either downgrade it a little bit so it gets maybe more of a boom sound, you got to lower it a little bit. Otherwise, on an electronic set, you just switch it till you find something that sounds good. You remove like the padding. It's just a lot more simpler, and like you don't have to worry about tuning, and obviously there's no noise effects. So I mean, that's why I would stick with electronic drums. You don't have to worry about the noise or tuning. So, and I guess it's a little easier to deconstruct a little bit. So maybe that's why you don't want to use it.
Yeah. Plus, the money that's invested that you're looking at right now, just in cymbals.
What was that?
Cymbals. Like? Oh, cymbals are expensive, man.
Was it like $2,000 for all those put together?
Oh, easily, yeah. I mean, the A's are a kit, like a set. They were like $800, and all these I picked up for like $100 each, so they're cheap. Even this one I got for like $100. But it's like we have more in the closet that are supposed to be out here. But yeah, it's like, it gets crazy expensive. But also with electronic kit, I think for all you guys doing drum covers, I don't know who does what. It'd be cool to be able to tune each kit because you could probably download sounds into them, get your kit exactly how that particular drummer played it on that album and make it actually sound like them. Whereas like I'm stuck with this sound unless I really want to mess with stuff, and I don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see what you mean. I know Mike Conway, the one who does all the Van Halen covers.
Mike Van Halen.
Yeah. Mikey Van Halen. There we go.
That's why he dropped his stick. He wasn't playing a Van Halen song. He screwed up.
When did he do that? Or I guess
he posted a video of him, like he was playing and he dropped the stick and he grabbed another one and he dropped it again. And it was like, because you're not playing a Van Halen song, dude.
You just jinxed yourself not doing that, man.
So I call him Mike Van Halen.
Yeah. Actually, we did do a Van Halen cover together. And it was actually a pretty killer one, too.
Nice. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for doing that cover with me. That was awesome, dude.
Dude, thanks for picking it, too, because
that was awesome.
Well, the reason why I was picking like the Megadeth, I know that's what you said your favorite band was. So I was thinking like, does he want to just do like one of the big four thrash? Because I was starting Megadeth first because I was thinking, okay, maybe that's his favorite band, and maybe there's a couple. Because I was listening to Lucretia, and I also really love Take No Prisoners from the Rust in Peace album. So I think like maybe he knows those ones, so we'll just ask him that, and then maybe. Because for me, I've always considered Peace Sells and Rust in Peace to be their best works. So. That's why I was thinking maybe he wants to do something from those. Oops, sorry. Maybe that's why he wants to do something from those albums. So we'll just pick that.
I was just thinking something more simple,
It was, yeah. And I was thinking of actually adding to it too, because there was parts where I think like, do I think I should add maybe a second foot pedal here, during the verses there, banana, something like that, or something like that, just to kind of add feel to it, but. When you feel like you had to do those drum covers, you try to get it as close as you can. Because for me, I consider it like a respect issue. I think like that's the way they played it. So out of respect for the drummers who came out of that golden age, I will play it as close as I can to it. Is that what you try to do too?
I this is what I tell everybody. You don't need to play it exactly, but there are certain things in certain songs you need to hit. And in the Judas Priest song, there is certain things. You got to hit that one crash in like the third verse or whatever it is. You got to hit the little snare. I don't know what they call it because I don't know how to read or count. It's drums. I don't know how to count, which is kind of weird. I just sit here and play. You got to do those things. That makes it that song. Like in the end of the Motley Crue, it's like Livewire. He's got the little cymbal chokes and he hits the cowbell. Those are things you have to hit. That's what makes that song that song. But I think for the rest of it, you know, you can improvise to a certain degree. I don't think you should always play everything exactly because you're not a robot. I think everybody should always add their own little flavor to it, but not too crazy.
Yeah, I see what you mean too. And that's, I always said it's like a respect issue. So that's why I try to play it as close as I can to it. But for more of my more harder ones, I feel like it's hard to like improvise too because it has to be done like this way. Maybe at some points, maybe I might improvise here and there just to kind of add to it a little bit. Because I know that's with one of the both for songs I was just playing to. I improvised in like a certain spot just to add a little bit more to it, make it sound badass, that sort of thing.
I got one more question for you though.
No, keep going. Yeah.
So a lot of people say because I listen to the old music that I don't like newer music, which isn't necessarily true. I'm always looking for newer bands, and there is some out there that's actually really good. But a lot of the older bands are actually coming out with newer music that's actually better than the newer bands. But what do you think about like the newer styles of music or newer music versus older music? Is it true that the newer music is actually worse than the older music? Or how do you feel about that?
Do you mean like a group that started in the 80s, they're still going to this day, and they came out with a new album recently?
Yeah, stuff like that versus like the newer bands coming out now. Is the music worse?
I think it really depends on what the band's direction is, but in some cases for some of those older groups that have been sticking around since like the 80s, for instance, in some cases, yes, but just to kind of jump back on Megadeth, I would say some of their more recent releases, I would say, not the greatest. Maybe there's a couple songs here and there that are pretty badass, but as the whole album as a whole, it's like, I'd say the older stuff's a little bit better, but it's more like songs every now and again. Maybe there's, because I know Testament's still been going around for a good bit too. That's tough too because there are some songs, and I know it's good to see them like still killing it. I think the funny thing is like they're not going to be playing like maybe every other song from like their newer albums. They're still going to play like some of their old stuff too. So it gets tricky. I think at points yes, some points no. So
well, because like everyone says it because I'm older. You just don't like the new music because you're old. I'm like, no, because the music isn't all that great. Like every once in a while I'll hear a band like right now. I always tell people there's a band from India actually called Girish and the Chronicles. And if you go listen to them, they have a song called Rock and Roll. Is it called Rock and Roll is Here to Stay? Something like that. Dude, it's a new band, but it sounds like the old stuff. Maybe that's why I like it. But a lot of the newer bands, it's just how fast can we go? And it's all Cookie Monster. You know, it's like, okay, you're just like everybody else. How are you going to be different? So maybe that's why I don't like them. To me, they're all the same. I'm looking for like those different ones coming out. I don't know.
Well, there's definitely like some of the prog metal groups too. I know one was like Between the Buried and Me, they jump around with like kind of styles, but still like got the metal and everything to it. Nice little catchiness here and there, but they get like soft melodies and stuff, or it's like incorporation of keyboards, kind of making like maybe an orchestral kind of sounds too at times. So those ones I can see why people would really dig it too. But in terms of like what you said, a lot of like the same, maybe cookie cutter kind of kind of growls to it too. I can see what you mean too, but sometimes I think it's based on how fast downtuned and everything is too. Some bands go a little bit slower, make like a doomy, gloomy kind of sound too, sort of thing. I can see what you mean, yeah. But like I said, it's tough. I think it depends on. To be fair, I will like listen to it, just like kind of give it my own little comparison. but I can see what you mean by it too. So, but in some cases, yeah, for a lot of bands out of the 80s and 90s, I would say your older stuff was better. It's good to see that you're still making music and there are some songs that are badass, but your older stuff, I could listen to that whole album the whole way through and I'd say, this is so badass, man.
Yeah. Well, like Judas Priest just came around here with Sabaton. Sabaton's a newer band. I don't know if you know them.
Oh, yeah,
They
I listened to them a couple times.
they sing all about history, which I think is great. I hate history. It's only good for Jeopardy if you're going to go on Jeopardy. I don't really care about history.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool what they're doing. And that's a newer band. I'm like, they're actually pretty good. And their videos are like top notch. So it's not necessarily just because they're new, I don't like them. I like them. They are a newer band. So it's just like, there are newer bands I do like. But I think overall, a lot of the newer ones just aren't. I just don't think the music is getting better in any way.
Yeah, I can see what you mean too. It's best to go back to the old school and then like see how you can try to make it better. Some bands at least take the influences and they incorporate it into their play style. And perhaps you can like hear it every now and again, but other bands, it's probably just saying like, hey, we were influenced, but it's not really, there's not really any sort of influential thing going on in our music. So that sort of thing. All right. Do you have any other questions or do you want to jump to the last one?
Jump to the last one, sir.
All right. So this one I'm curious to see if you changed your answer a little bit because, well, this one, it's always been mostly the same question and it's one I always like to ask. So just to kind of reiterate it again. So what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians out there, considering what COVID has done to us in society, especially as musicians?
Well, yeah, I'm going to say almost the same thing. If you know me and you know the name of my channel, then you know what I'm about. And like, I think it was Joey, I've had a very dark past. I did meth for like 20 years and a bunch of other stuff. And I will tell you this, I don't care where you are. I don't care where you've been. I don't care where you're at. I have been there. And it ain't no lie. I have been there. And there's a lot of details of my life I don't tell people because they don't need to know certain things like that. But I'll tell you this, Jesus can pull you out of that. Anybody. So I really don't know how to describe it, but that's your only message of hope right there you're going to get from me. And if anybody has any questions about anything, you just come ask me. Find me on social media. I'll talk about anything. Although my kids call me a music snob, but there you go.
Yeah, look for the purple Muppet with the headphones and I guess what was that, microphone in front of him too?
It's actually a camera. Yeah, it's a GoPro.
Was it?
Some guy made that for me because I usually have purple hair. And I always have like GoPros everywhere I go when I'm doing car events and stuff. I have like a ton. I have the gimbal in my hand. I got a lot going on. Microphone in my hand. I'll do like a running gun style thing. Brian, tell me about your car. So it's like he made that dude, and I'm like, dude, that's me. And I wear the red headphones at work. So I'm like, I'm hoping. Well, if somebody watches this and you know how to make a furry or like a mascot, I'd like to get my guy made in a physical form so I could play drums in that costume. Even if it's just a head, that'd be pretty awesome.
Oh, a furry outfit too. Ooh,
Yeah.
You are a dirty boy. That's
Well, because I don't look at it that way like the furry people. I look at it, that's a mascot. That's just a mascot to me. You know what I mean? I love my purple guy because it's supposed to be me. And I'm like, that'd be cool to play drums in that.
They wanted to make the mascot more appealing in a way, and then they just happen to get together in a room, and then what do you know? That's what happens. People get weird sort of fantasies going on too. So whatever. That's pretty good to hear. Was that actually a specific Muppet name, or was that just a random one?
It was just a random thing this guy found on the internet, and he made it into me. Because it actually does look like me, like when I'm at work or when I'm out doing an event. That's exactly what I look like with the purple hair and everything. I just don't look like the furry guy. But it is pretty funny. He doesn't have a name. So if anybody watches this and wants to come up with a name, I'm taking suggestions. I would love to name it because I want to get him made and have a name for him.
All right. I'm just trying to picture purple hair, to be honest. Because I'm just looking at it now. I'm thinking like, his hair color is actually perfect. I'm trying to picture purple.
Oh, it's usually my hair usually is purple, and usually it'll be like if it's gray again because it washes out, it'll be like a residual, like right here. My wife hates it because when we're out and about town, all the chicks dig it. Oh my gosh, I love your hair. And she gets all jealous.
Yeah, then she's got to make it up a little bit later after dinner when you guys come home for dessert.
Yeah, but the reason why I did it in the first place is my hair is actually supposed to be brown before it was gray. So you do the brown, but then you look like that guy when you're my age. You look like that guy. He's in a midlife crisis. He dyed his hair. You can tell, and he missed a spot. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna dye it purple. I did it. Because it ain't gray, and it's like, okay, let me just. It's just something for a reaction, really.
I don't know. It was like streaks of red or something if you wanted to do a Slayer cover or something like that. Or I guess if you wanted to do it red for the Peace Cells, if you're doing anything from Megadeth, or dye it blue for the Rust in Peace album, something like that.
I can't dye it blue because I associate that with SJWs, and I'm not one.
Oh, jeez. All right, fair enough. All right. All right. So, John, we talked for a good hour here, but we reached the end of my podcast here. So, I guess, did you have any shout outs you want to give? Any other last words or anything?
I just want to say thanks to everybody in this little drum community. You guys are all awesome. Everyone's very supportive. Brian here is awesome. He's also supportive. And I'm going to support you, dude, as best I can. And everybody else, I'm really trying to subscribe to everybody and watch everyone's videos. It's really hard for me to keep up with because I like to hit subscribe on everybody so they get this. But then I can't. I get all the videos coming in, and it's like I really can't watch everything. But I want to thank everybody that's doing this and is associated with all this stuff.
I think the thing that stinks, too, is like if you try to do like the sub for sub kind of deal, you're like sub to somebody's channel, but then they don't sub back. So I think like, don't they have like a notification or anything that tells them on when they go to their YouTube page that like, hey, this guy subbed to you, and then they think, oh, I should sub back as a form of gratitude or something like that. So
yeah, and I don't care if people subscribe to me. I'll subscribe to you, because people want that. I don't really care about that stuff, but I like to watch everyone's videos. But I'm subscribed now to so many people, from Drum Man and you, and Drum Addict has a thing, and Rich has a thing, like highlighting drummers. So I hit subscribe on everybody, and then it's like all of a sudden, here's my subscription videos coming in. It's like I don't have time to sit there and watch hundreds of videos. I just don't. But I feel bad that I don't watch them either because I'm more into the watching the videos than the sub part.
yeah, well, man, that's been the tough part too, because you try to be nice, but then like when you eventually get to like the thousands, you think like, boy, this is actually getting a lot harder than what I thought it was going to be. So, all right, we'll make it work. We'll make it work somehow. All right, so everyone, my guest today was John Brooks again. He came on again for a second one because last time we had a terrible echo going on. I don't know if he was trying to imitate his echoes when he was going to the Grand Canyon or something, but we got that fixed. We got it fixed now. There was no echo this time. It was all good and everything. A couple background noise, which we're going to blame John for. So, all right. So, John, thank you again so much again for coming on, bud. So, stay safe. Stay tuned, y'all.
Thanks, Brian.